Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. I first picked up this book thinking it was just another motivational read. What I found instead was a practical operating manual for the mind, one that genuinely changed how I make decisions, talk to myself, and shape my own life. Here's what every chapter taught me. Chapter 1. Dreams of Destiny. You are the master of your fate. Tony opens with a bold declaration. Decisions, not conditions, determine our destiny. He argues that most of us are sleepwalking through life, reacting to circumstances rather than consciously creating them. The giant he's talking about isn't some superhuman version of you. It's the real you, the one that gets buried under fear, habit, and other people's expectations. What hit me hardest in this chapter was his point that the only thing separating people who thrive from those who merely survive is the quality of the decisions they make daily, including the tiniest ones, like what time you wake up or whether you let a setback define you. He urges us to stop waiting for the right moment and start treating every single day as a chance to awaken that potential.
Chapter 2. Decisions, the Pathway to Power. This chapter is the philosophical backbone of the whole book. Tony says that it's in our moments of decision that our destiny is shaped. Not willpower, not talent, decisions. He distinguishes between people who make real decisions, burning the bridges behind them, fully committing, versus people who just state preferences and then bail when it gets hard. He introduces the idea that the pain of indecision is far worse than the pain of a wrong choice. A wrong choice teaches you something. Indecision just bleeds you dry. Reading this, I thought of all the times I'd been thinking about it for months and how much energy that consumed. Tony's solution: make the decision, then make it right, not the other way around.
Chapter 3. The Force That Shapes Your Life. The Power of Pain and Pleasure. Here, Tony introduces what might be the most foundational concept of the entire book. Everything we do either to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. He calls it the Dickens pattern. We remain stuck because we associate more pain to changing than to staying the same. The insight that unlocked something for me was this: you don't actually change your behavior by willpower. You change it by changing what you link pain and pleasure to. Want to exercise? Stop linking the gym to suffering and start linking the couch to future deterioration. It sounds almost too simple, but when you sit with it, you realize it explains nearly every human behavior. Procrastination, addiction, avoidance, love, ambition, all of it. Chapter 4. Belief Systems. The Power to Create and the Power to Destroy. Beliefs, Tony says, are like the operating system running silently in the background of your life. You don't see them, but they're filtering every experience, every possibility. He explains that beliefs are not facts. They are feelings of certainty about what something means. He walks through how limiting beliefs form, often from a single emotional experience in childhood that we generalize into a permanent truth. I'm not smart enough. People can't be trusted. Money is hard to get. These aren't realities. They're stories. And the good news he offers is that since you built them, you can dismantle them. He provides specific questioning techniques to challenge the evidence behind old beliefs and replace them with more empowering ones. Chapter 5. Can change happen in an instant? This chapter challenges the idea that real change requires years of therapy or gradual progress. Tony argues that change can happen in a moment, the moment you decide it has. He's not dismissing the work. He's saying that the actual shift is instantaneous, even if the preparation takes time. He uses the metaphor of a teapot. The water heats slowly, but the boiling, the actual transformation, happens in a second. The 3 decisions that shape your destiny in any moment are what to focus on, what things mean to you, and what to do about them. Most of us are running these on autopilot. This chapter is the wake-up call to take the wheel. Chapter 6 and 7. How to Change Anything in Your Life. The Science of Neuroassociative Conditioning. NAC. This two-chapter section is where Tony gets genuinely practical. He introduces NAC, his step-by-step system for reprogramming what your nervous system associates with pain and pleasure. The 6 steps cover deciding what you really want, getting leverage on yourself, making not changing more painful than changing, interrupting old patterns, creating a new empowering alternative, conditioning the new pattern until it's automatic, and testing it. What I loved here is that Tony doesn't just tell you to think positive. He tells you exactly how to rewire the wiring. The pattern interrupt concept, doing something so jarring, absurd, or unexpected that it breaks your habitual mental loop, has genuinely stuck with me. Next time you catch yourself in a spiral, do something completely different. Shake your body, change your posture. The brain literally can't continue the same thought pattern when the physical state changes. Chapter 8. Questions are the answer. One of the most underrated chapters in the book. Tony argues that the quality of your life is directly determined by the quality of the questions you consistently ask yourself. Your brain will always try to answer whatever question you give it. So if you ask, "Why am I so useless?" it will find you evidence. But if you ask, "What can I learn from this?" it goes to work on that instead. He introduces morning power questions and evening power questions, daily rituals designed to prime your mind toward gratitude, growth, and intention rather than anxiety and regret. I started doing this, and the shift in my morning mood was noticeable within days. Not because the questions are magic, but because they redirect your focus. And where focus goes, energy flows. Chapter 9. The Vocabulary of Ultimate Success. The Power of Words. This chapter might be the one most people overlook, and it's a gem. Tony shows how the words you habitually use don't just describe your emotional state, they create and amplify it. There's a huge difference between saying, "I'm furious," and "I'm a bit peeved," between "I'm devastated" and "I'm disappointed." He provides a vocabulary substitution guide, swapping emotionally charged negative words for softer ones, and upgrading tepid positive words for more energized ones. Sounds trivial until you try it for a week and realize how much your language has been quietly holding you down. Words are the labels you put on your experience. Change the label, and the experience literally changes. Chapter 10. The 10 Emotions of Power. Tony presents a framework for emotional mastery, arguing that emotions are not things that happen to you, they are things you do. Emotions are action signals. Fear signals you to prepare. Anger signals that something you value is being violated. Sadness signals loss that must be processed. He lists 10 positive emotions to cultivate: love, appreciation, curiosity, excitement, determination, flexibility, confidence, cheerfulness, vitality, and contribution, and walks through how to access each one deliberately, not waiting for circumstances to deliver them. The section on transforming suffering into learning and frustration into fascination is particularly powerful for anyone who tends to get stuck in negative emotional loops. Chapters 11 through 13. The Master System. Values, Rules, and Identity. These 3 chapters form what Tony calls your master system, the invisible architecture governing everything you do. Your values are what you move toward and away from, what matters most to you, and what you must avoid. Your rules are the conditions you set for feeling your values are met. And your identity is the story you tell yourself about who you are. Here's the insight that floored me. You can have the right values, but impossible rules, and still feel perpetually unfulfilled. Someone who values love but requires constant validation to feel loved will always feel unloved, not because love is absent, but because the rule can never be met. Redesigning your rules to make it easier to feel what you most want to feel is one of the most liberating exercises in the book. The identity chapter is equally powerful. Whatever you've decided you are, shy, creative, a bad cook, someone who struggles with money, you will unconsciously protect that identity. Tony's invitation is to consciously choose a bigger identity that serves you, then act as if it's already true. Chapters 14-15. Taking control of your financial destiny and physical body. Tony brings his framework down to earth in these 2 chapters, applying everything he's taught to the 2 areas most people feel most stuck: money and health. On finances, he's blunt. Most financial problems are decisions problems in disguise. Poor spending habits, avoidance of financial planning, and scarcity thinking are all belief and behavior patterns, and they can all be changed using the same tools he's been teaching throughout. On physical vitality, he emphasizes that your body is the foundation of everything. You cannot think clearly, love fully, or perform at your best when your body is neglected. He advocates for consistent movement, better breathing, hydration, and sleep, not as aesthetic goals, but as performance tools. Your physiology shapes your psychology every single day. Chapters 16 through 18: Relationships, Leadership, and the Meaning of Life. The final section zooms out to the bigger picture. On relationships, Tony argues that most conflicts arise not from incompatibility, but from people having different rules for the same value. 2 people can both value respect and constantly feel disrespected by each other simply because they define it differently. The fix is communication. Explicitly share your rules rather than assuming others share them. On leadership, which Tony broadly defines as the ability to influence others positively, he says the greatest leaders focus on serving rather than being served. They ask, "What can I contribute?" rather than "What can I get?" He weaves in the idea of a higher purpose, that the deepest fulfillment comes not from achievement, but from growth and contribution. He closes the book with a vision, that each of us carries within us an enormous capacity, a giant, that most of us never fully awaken. And the whole book has been a roadmap to do exactly that. Not someday, now. My final takeaway. Reading this book, I kept waiting for it to get preachy or vague, and it never did. Tony Robbins is relentlessly practical. Every big idea comes with a tool, an exercise, a technique. What stays with me most is this: you are not your circumstances. You are your decisions. The giant within you isn't waiting for permission. It's waiting for a decision. Make it.